Yeah, stunning views from here. Whoever gets this apartment is going to have some nice views of I can see the Shard, the city. So for anyone new starting out, what's one piece of advice you could give them?
I would just say go for it, really.
Take that plunge, take that risk and see what happens. Hi everyone, welcome to this week's video. So today I am visiting a brand new developer who's taken on something pretty wild for his first project. So he is developing a former funeral director's home and he is converting the building into 4 residential flats. So the developer's name is Tushar and his company is called Mayor Developments, and this is his first ever project and he's pretty much learning on the job. So brave, crazy, why would somebody take on a funeral director's home as their first ever deal? Let's go and find out. Hey Tushar, how are you doing?
Hi Parish, I'm good, thanks. How are you, all right?
Yeah, good mate. Good to see you.
Good
to see you again, man. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. Yeah.
This is it.
This is it.
This is it. Wow. So Tushar, your first ever development and it's a funeral director's home. I've got a few questions about that I'm going to ask you. But first off, what made you get into property development?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's been quite a long journey in the sense that back in 2007, I first did a small extension in my home. And at that time, I thought, I was understanding the process of what kind of extension process is like, to build a single-story extension in your back garden. Then following that, when I got my first pay slip, I was able to get my first mortgage for a buy-to-let property.
Yeah. And
that was in 2015. Then from that, I thought instead of doing a simple buy-to-let, try going to BRRR. From there, then I thought, okay, the next step is really commercial to residential. So that was the process.
Right, okay. So you did have small bits of experience, but nothing on this scale?
Nothing on this scale, no.
On this scale.
Exactly.
Okay. Why this building? I mean, funeral director's home as your first ever deal, it's pretty unusual. So talk us through that. How did this happen?
Yeah, absolutely. To be honest, this was the first commercial property that I had actually gone to see. This was in November 2024, and I saw it come on the market. Because of the square footage, I saw that it's currently 1,800 square foot with planning permission to become 2,400 square foot and 3 flats already granted. So I thought with planning permission already granted, the risks were kind of reduced.
Yeah.
So I felt like it's a safe investment to try to go for as my first ever commercial to residential. Without planning, I feel like it would have been a bit more difficult.
Okay, so it was on the market deal with planning permission?
Yes, yeah, exactly, with planning permission. And I thought I could try to increase its GDV by doing another application to convert it from 3 flats to 4 flats. And that application's in the process of hopefully being accepted.
I have always said, on market deals aren't necessarily that bad because, as you've mentioned, the risk is lower, but there's always an opportunity to optimize an existing design as well. So we're going to go and have a look inside in a minute, but before we do, were you worried at all about taking on a development of this size for your first project?
Absolutely, yeah. It's a much bigger task in a sense. I was worried to the extent at which I didn't know who I needed to help me out, what was the process in terms of development finance, what was the process in terms of making sure that the build went through smoothly. So that's why I actually came to your mastermind course, which really gave me some confidence to help me to know the process of
the next steps.
Yeah, how to actually go ahead with this build, because I didn't know, that I needed a sound consultant, I needed a acoustic consultant, I needed obviously my structural engineer, and I needed all the relevant consultants to help me on this project, which especially building control and getting all the sign-offs. So I was worried about that process.
Yeah, there's definitely more consultants involved on larger developments like this than there would be on the smaller domestic size stuff. So I'm sure that was a bit of a learning curve as well. So we can see there's construction going on. You're 3 months in, are you?
3 months in.
How much longer left on the program?
We're hoping to finish in 3 to 4 months. Our bridge is actually 12 to 15 months long, so we have enough time to be able to finish it within that time frame, but we're hoping to finish within 3 to 6 months from now, ideally.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty short program.
Yeah.
You're still doing this as a side hustle,
As a side hustle, I guess. Yeah, exactly.
but you're hoping it might turn into something a bit more someday?
I'm hoping that, looking at your channel, which gives me a lot of motivation to see what kind of scale projects can get to. And for me, that's something I aspire to be honest.
Okay, cool. Should we go and have a look inside?
Yeah, perfect.
Wow. So this is it?
This is it, yeah. This was originally the shop, and then at the back was where they used to keep their funeral stuff.
The dead bodies.
The dead bodies. All the stud walls have been taken out, and they've put this steel beam in, gone back to brick, sand and cement on the walls, removed the chimney stacks, so there was like chimneys all the way to the top.
This is what your builders have already done?
Already done, yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
How long was this a funeral director's?
As far as I'm aware, it's for a long time.
Yeah, very long.
For a very long time. They had a car parking space here in front, and then where that's helped is kind of sometimes, for deliveries and stuff, we've got the space for us to, take our rubbish, and then, it's just been useful.
So is this is the general plans, the layouts, is it?
Yes, exactly.
Amazing.
So there are a few tweaks that we have to make to this, and there've been a few changes, from what this internal layout was originally approved. We have done a minor amendment to change the internal layouts, because the entrance, they had originally had 2 doors going, one into the ground floor flat, one going upstairs, but we thought that loses some of the space, so we tried to keep one corridor and then an enter into the flat.
So you've optimized the design a bit more, trying to maximize the square footage of the flats. You've got a flat on the ground floor, you've got another one on the first floor, and a 1 bed on the second floor, and then a studio on the top at the moment, right?
Exactly, yeah. That's the plan for the 1 bed and the studio. We've currently got this as a duplex with the second and third floor.
And this is the new planning application
planning application we put through. So hoping, fingers crossed, that gets through. The only tricky bit was that this has to be 37 square meters, and the door has to start on the landing, so that they include the staircase within the square meterage to make sure that it becomes 37.
Yeah.
And we tried to maximize to put the mansard roof right to the end of the wall.
Yeah, to gain as much space as possible.
To gain as much space, exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. You've got some garden space at the back.
Yeah.
I can see there was some kind of outbuilding at the back. Is that where the bodies were kept? The dead bodies?
Yeah, previously they had an outbuilding like that. Yeah. And then we knocked it down. Right. And then we had also approval for this outbuilding home office type of thing. I don't think it will add value to build it there, in the sense that it's not worth the cost of doing, because it won't add that much value to the property.
Yeah, I know. Let's have a look. Let's have a look around. So we can get to the garden.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, let's go to the back first. How's the build structured? Are you doing it yourself, or have you hired a main contractor to do this?
Hired a main contractor to do this. This builder is someone that I have previously done a joint venture with, and I also have a good relationship with. So before I first came here, I got about 10 different quotes from different contractors, with getting their full scope of works, obviously having the structural markups being drawn for them to know what to include in their quotes. The one that I have a relationship with already, he's come with the best price. We've done a JCT contract with him. So it's fixed no matter what happens. Although there have been changes here and there, it's relatively, fixed towards that budget, which is good.
What's been the biggest challenge on this one? Has anything gone wrong?
Yeah, probably the biggest challenge, I think 2 or 3 challenges. One of them was the fire layouts. That was pretty bad. That building control said we have to stop the works internally until we get that internal
fire strategy
sorted. Yeah. Looking back at it, I probably would have done that before we had actually started the works, having that ready.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that that was something that we needed to do. So luckily now building control are happy with the new designs. So they're carrying on. We can now do the internal works. And then second one was to do with the build over agreement, where we moved this manhole cover here from there to there. And doing the drainage search before would have been good, because I could have seen how far the distance is, the sewage is from the extension that we're building, and knowing what size those pipes are to know whether or not it belongs to us or whether it's our responsibility or whether it's Thames Water.
Yeah.
So that was another challenge that I had to be retrospective again.
Yeah.
But again, that was all approved.
Yeah. But it's your first one. It's a bit of a learning curve, but, but
Yeah.
you're still, you're still moving forward, and it's great. Yeah.
It's going to be a balcony.
So yeah,
there.
you're coming out onto the ground floor here. I can
Yeah.
see, and on the first floor, you're coming out as well.
Yeah, on the first floor, that's staying as it
That's
is,
staying as
but
it
then
is.
you've got a balcony coming out on top
Right,
of this
onto
flat
the-
roof.
Yeah. Okay.
And then on the second floor, it's going in line with where the
With
first
the
floor
first
is.
floor, yeah,
And then that's also got a balcony
on top.
on top.
Yeah.
And then there's the roof on top
Yeah.
and sod.
It's great. It's a great project for your first one.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
The main frame of the building was pretty much solid. And, I got my structural engineer to come and check, where the steels are, if it's structurally sound and all of that, because I just wanted to know the shell of the property is in a good enough place.
Condition, yeah.
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 There was also the basement at the bottom, which has only got a 1.7 meters height, but if this was more of a central London location, I would have probably considered
going down.
Including. But at the moment,
Yeah.
it's just it's cycle storage, because there's no car parking spaces in there.
How did you find this one, by the way? Was it just searching the internet and you came across it? Or?
Yeah, just looked on Rightmove commercial and searched for it. It said guide price 500,000. So, but it wasn't an auction. Normally you'd expect guide price to be an auction, but this was just a normal sale through a normal estate agent. And when I came to view the property, there had already been 10, 15 people already coming. But I was really, really interested, and I offered well in excess of the guide price to try to secure it. And he was unsure about, the estate agent was unsure about my experience. Would I be able to complete? Is he, he wanted this to be a cash buyer only. And I told him that I'll be taking bridging finance for this. So he was worried, in that sense, but I had to try to reassure him that, look, my funds are in place. I've got my bridging in principle. So
it's almost as good as cash because it's kind of quick. Is there still room left in terms of a margin?
Hopefully, I think so, yeah. It makes, I thought, even if the margins aren't too great, as a learning experience, it's excellent.
Yeah.
But roughly return on cash, I think we're looking about 50, 60% return on cash invested, which is pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah.
We had to put down a deposit of 50% to purchase.
Yeah.
They were willing to loan 60, but because it's our first deal, that's why they're only willing to maximum lend 60% the purchase price. And in terms of the build cost, we've managed to keep that relatively low, which has also increased our margins as well. And I've had an estate agent come around to do the valuations. They think that the GDV is approximately 1.4, 1.5 million at the end of the project. And our all-in costs are probably going to be in about £1 million roughly. So there might be about 400,000 gain in total.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good. Not bad for the first one. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great. Go and have a look at the rest of it.
Yeah.
here, you're going to go another floor up, right?
Exactly.
You're going to create a mansard addition, right?
Mansard addition as maximum to the wall as possible to maximize the space. Hopefully we'll have a studio flat, 37 square meters in size. And yeah, as you can see, they're kind of just fitting the steel beams. Luckily, we've got good weather, so they haven't put the tin hat on top, but it should be all, watertight in the next week or so.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I've got to say, this is quite a big one as your first one.
Yes.
A lot of developers struggle with how they're going to fund their development in terms of finance for their first one, because they don't have a track record, and it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation because they can't get development finance unless you have a bit of a track record.
Yeah.
And you can't get a track record until you can use some kind of finance to do your first development. So how did you fund this development? What kind of loan did you use?
Yeah, so we used a heavy refurb loan on this project. We went to a few different brokers and tried to get funding. A lot of them were asking for my CV to know what I had done before. Because I hadn't done any commercial to residential or any kind of largish development yet, a lot of them were not willing to lend. So I was advised by people that maybe if I had an experienced contractor, or if I had an experienced joint venture partner with me, then maybe they'll accept the lending if I join together with someone. But luckily on this project, I managed to find someone who was happy to lend without any experience. And yeah, maybe we had to pay a bit more in terms of the borrowing costs than probably what if we had experience. But I think there are lenders genuinely out there to help people who are even completely brand new into this as well.
Okay. Just for anyone interested, what was the name of the lender?
Yeah, so it's Precise Mortgages, but you have to go through a broker to get your mortgage agreed with them.
Now you've got that experience of the first one, so when you go to doing your next one, you can, the whole market in terms of lending market is available to you because you've got the experience, you've gone through the cycle of a development, and so you'll have a few more options next time.
100%, because even when they were asking, they wanted to see like a social media page. They were asking, do you have a profile that you can show us? Like that, so now I have this, I can almost send them a kind of my social media link and say, look, here, this is what I've done. And it kind of shows your CV in an easy to show way rather than in a proper Excel spreadsheet, which maybe isn't as easy to see what you've actually done.
Yeah, definitely. So you mentioned joint venture partners just a bit before.
Yeah.
On this one, do you have a partner, like a JV partner, or are you in business with someone doing these developments?
Yeah, in this I have a JV partner. We created a separate SPV for this particular purchase. And I have a long-time school friend that has seen some of the smaller projects that I've done and was always interested in getting into development. And this opportunity came along. They had some funds available. I said, look, this is a great proposition, it seems like. So why not let's joint venture together? And so we're on a 50-50 partnership where we put funds in together, we pooled in our funds together, and we managed to complete. Luckily, she's also a mortgage broker, so she was able to help with the finance side of things as well.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, that's great. So you pooled your funds in together to get you, on that first step of doing your first development. That's great. Yeah, I mean, similar to my story as well. My business partner, we JV'd together on a couple of projects. We worked well together, and then we formed a proper business together, and the rest is history. But good way to start and get going onto, especially that when you're taking that step up from a more domestic sized project to that larger scale one.
Absolutely. I've just been so used to buying things in my personal name, and now keeping everything clean, separate into a separate company. And then now we always do checks to see how we're doing in terms of our budget and what we're doing in terms of funds, because even though we're getting the bridging finance, we also have to keep adding funds from our own side as well to make sure that the project is still ongoing. Like I said, the valuation that came through, there was a delay in that process of funding. So still, you know, we have to keep good communication with the partner to make sure that, you know, we're all on board for, you know, keeping the project going.
Moving along,
Exactly.
Keeping the wheels turning,
Yeah.
And, you know, property development can get a bit lonely sometimes, so it's always fun to do it with someone as well.
Definitely.
To share that journey and experience. Looks like there's going to be some nice views from up there. Should we go and check them out?
Yeah, perfect. Sure.
Once this is completed, once this is built out, what's the plan with this one? What's the exit strategy? Are you going to hold on? Are you going to rent?
Yeah, hopefully we're planning to try to sell 1 or 2 of the flats just to get our equity back out. If we don't get a good price for it, depending on how the market is, then we'll probably keep the whole block. We'll try to keep it as a multi-unit freehold block. So keep the whole freehold as it is and rent the properties out. But if we do manage to find a buyer, we would just create a lease and then sell 1 of the flats to that individual.
Okay. Yeah, and keep the other flats.
Keep the other
for
flats.
Cash flow and part of the portfolio. I've got to say, I think it's pretty amazing what you've done here for your first project. I'm sure you've learned a lot from it so far, and you're probably going to learn a lot more throughout the rest of this project as well. So for anyone new starting out, what's one piece of advice you could give them?
I would say definitely try to get educated on, there's a lot of information online where you can find information about projects like this, and you know, from yourself or lots of other resources that you can find, YouTube, Google, and come on site, see whether or not you can see things for yourself. If you have anybody, you know, that you can gain experience from, I would just say go for it, really, like, because you do learn on the job as well. So I think if there is something which does stack up, you do your due diligence, you check all of the numbers stack up, then if you don't try, you never know. So I would say go for it.
Yeah, take that plunge, take that risk and see what happens. It's amazing. Look, thanks for having us here. I think you've done an amazing job, as I've already said. And look, good luck with the rest of this project. It's an amazing one to start off with in your first project, first development. For anyone who wants to follow you, follow your journey on this development, how can they find out about you?
Yeah.
Do you have an Instagram page or anything?
Yeah, my Instagram page is Mayor Developments, and I'm trying to document the process myself. So there's some more technical details on the property, what I've done and how the progress is going. So I'll try to document maybe like throughout the whole journey for the remaining 3 to 6 months of the process. So hopefully it might be able to help someone. Okay, cool, great. We're going to wrap it up there. Thank you, Tushar, again. Thanks, Paresh. Amazing to see your development, and what a development to have as your first one. Looking forward to seeing the finished product as well. So, but yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for having us, yeah? From ex-funeral home to the cemetery. Honestly, fair play to Tushar. First big development, a commercial conversion to 4 residential apartments, and it just so happened to be a funeral home. Not many people would take that on as their first big development. So let me know what you guys think. Was it a smart move? That's the end of this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then please like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you at the next one.